whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Let's unmute myself. There we go. Hello. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. See, Kim McAllister, she will be back tomorrow. We miss her and her lovely, lovely face, but she is taking a much needed vacation and celebrating her son, but she will be back tomorrow. Thank you everyone for being here. This is the Nikki Maduro Show, where we talk about news, politics, nonsense, everything in between. And we have a fun show coming up today. A lot of news, a lot of politics, a lot of laughs, because I mean, you've seen the latest grift from Trump, and we're not talking shoes, people. Not talking shoes. So we'll touch on that. It's not looking good for that investigation into Hunter Biden. But if you think that there's any MAGA Republicans that care about truth, you'd be fooling yourself. So that's not going to happen. Interesting lawsuit against the Powerball, which I found kind of hilarious, and I'm siding with the guy. I absolutely am siding with the guy that is suing the Powerball. In the news section, I'm going to try to throw in a little bit more news today. There was this gun storage law that has been tested for the very first time, so we'll talk about that. And then towards the back half of the show, we're going to delve more into sleep with the CEO of the nap bar, Kalia Guillory. You are not going to want to miss this interview. She's fabulous. I mean, for someone that runs the nap bar, you just want to stay up and listen to her talk. So you don't want to miss that interview as well. But let's get some business out of the way. Click that thumbs up button. If you enjoy seeing this show Monday through Friday, please support it simply by clicking the thumbs up button, which YouTube absolutely loves. The super chat is also live. Look for the $sign under the live chat box, and you can give us a super chat, a super thanks, a super sticker. And then, of course, I love my Madorables, and that is the number one way we support the show is through our Patreon and PayPal. The Patreon link can be found at thenikkimadoroshow.com, thenikkimadoroshow.com. So if you go there, you can donate any amount you want to. Right now, we do not have any tiers at all, so you can just sign up that way, and whatever you can afford one time a month, we appreciate. PayPal, just go to paypal.com, and you put in the email, thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com, and that way you can donate through PayPal as well. And we appreciate you guys. We are 100% crowdfunded, and so unless we get crowd support, this show cannot continue. And I can speak for Kim and myself to say we love doing the show. So thank you to everybody that donates. I appreciate you. I love you. And let's get going. Okay. So first off, I was like, there has to be Chinese New Year's parades happen in San Francisco. Is anybody going? I've never gone to the San Francisco Chinese New Year's Day parade. It looks fabulous. It's the year of the dragon, and I can only imagine how awesome it's going to be. The weather is supposed to be cooperating since it's been crazy lately. But today is a very yummy day. Look at that. Oh, hold on. Look at that. Here, look at this. Now, that, my friends, is a sticky bun. It is National Sticky Bun Day, which recognizes this delicious pastry that is rolled up and dripping with sweet, sugary topping. Now, I was trying to figure out, and maybe you guys can tell me the difference. Is a sticky bun just a cinnamon roll? Because that has nuts and everything on it. And my God, that's making me hungry. Yeah, that looks really, really good. So it's it's National Sticky Bun Day. I was trying to find a place that made it and would deliver it to me because I wasn't going anywhere this morning. I think it's called the Bagel Guys. Isn't too far away, but I was not able to get my button gear quick enough to drive my ass down there and go get one. But if you are into indulging yourself, it's National Sticky Bun Day. I do not think it's the same thing as a cinnamon bun. I think it's stickier. perhaps. Um, is it also high blood glucose day? I mean, you can have a cheat day, Blue Spark. Don't be yucking it. Natalie says, yum, I grew up eating these. It's a cinnamon roll, but with pecans and no frosting. Exactly. So it just has the sugar, like that sugar topping. Liz says, it's okay. I think that's a donut. I prefer a donut. Well, it's not donut day. It's sticky bun day, Liz. Exactly, John. National Sticky Bun Day, brought to you by the Sticky Bun people. Ooh, yes. Ghetto Guggenheim, Peter's Bakery in San Jose on Alum Rock was mentioned when I was Googling this morning for great sticky buns. But again, a little too far away. I just didn't get my button gear for it. LJ, I get sticky buns when it gets really hot and humid. Now Cinnabon, Gordon. And I know that some of you might vilify me for this when I say this. I feel like Cinnabons smell better than they taste. Don't at me about this. It's not that they're not good. Every time I get a Cinnabon, I'm like, yeah, that was a bad idea. And maybe it's because it's too much sugar. I just feel like Cinnabons, when I walk into the mall and I smell it, I'm like, oh, I want one. And then when I get it, it's like, I shouldn't have gotten that. Lori, yeah, must stay away. Yeah, I know exactly. Spencer, I still eat my Danishes. You guys are reminding me of something, but hold on, let me go through some of these more of these comments. SJ Lola says, I prefer a good croissant or a Savagatella at Dolce Sicilia in Willow Glen. I do not know what that is. You are going to have to educate me, SJ Lola, on what that is. I have no idea what that is. Okay. So you guys know that I have been on the hunt, and I haven't purchased it. I didn't purchase it. Maybe I'll do it for the Friday food segment if it's still there. So you guys know that I have been on this crusade, and it failed because they don't make them anymore, with the Entenmann's cheese-filled coffee cake. Cheese-filled coffee cake. Do not at me with the coffee cake. I know the coffee cake is still out there. I want it with the cheese filling. Okay. So it doesn't exist. They don't make it anymore. It's been discontinued, although they may bring it back if we complain enough. I was at Whole Foods the other day for Valentine's Day, actually, because I was getting food for a dinner I was cooking for my husband and children. And they have, but it's kind of like bread. And I don't know if it's like the flaky pastry with a cream cheese on top, and you bake it yourself. And I was like, I wonder if anyone's had that before. So I might get that and see if it's worth it. The thing is, I'm trying to eat better, as you guys know. My husband's trying to eat better. My kids don't need any more sugar in their lives. And it's gigantic. It's like it's supposed to feed a lot of people. So maybe I'll cut it in half and freeze half. I don't know if that's a good idea either. I did not find the Entenmann's. I know. I was kind of leading up to it. I wish. Has anyone had it from Whole Foods? It has cream cheese on it, and it looks like it would be sort of like the Entenmann's thing, but not. Okay. SJ Lola says many people call, I'm going to butcher it, Sagatelli lobster tails. It resembles a croissant, but it's shaped like a lobster tail, and it's filled with slightly sweet lemon-infused ricotta. It's amazing. Okay. Maybe I'll try that. I'm going to have to save your comment. Let me save your comment. Let's see if I can copy it so I don't lose it. I'm just going to star it. I'll save it later. Yeah, Dolce Sicilia. I think I can remember that. Dolce Sicilia in Willow Glen. Okay, so we're gonna try that maybe. If the Whole Foods, I would rather try that because I've never had that before. So maybe I'll do that for the Friday food segment. That sounds good. Thank you for the recommendation, SJ Lola. They make them to order at the bakery. Oh my God. Okay. Well, anyways, now that I've gotten you hungry for something sweet. Let me help you lose your appetite. Are you guys ready for this? Now that you're wanting something yummy, did you see this, people? Did you see this? That, my friends, is the newest grift from former President Trump. He has launched Victory 47 cologne and perfume. Apparently, it's like $99. I think it was the Independent wrote, "Oh, day insurrection, anyone?" Of course, we know that he has to pay that huge multi-million-dollar fine in that fraud trial. So it's a his and her fragrance. There's a gold stopper at the top, shaped like his head. Okay, who wants it? I mean, okay, I will say this. If it didn't have the box that said Trump Victory 47 and it was just the female bottle on there, it's kind of pretty. I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna be fair. I'll be fair. It kind of looks like the shape of a woman, right? And has the T at the top. The man's cologne. If I walked into a man's apartment, let's just say, okay, like I was dating him and I didn't know, I think it's for like $99, Spencer. And I saw that cologne bottle with Trump's head on it, I would go, nope. And I would turn around and walk out. I don't even care if I'm a Republican. That's weird. And I'm not going to buy it. I wish there was a place where I can go smell it though. You know what I mean? I don't know. I would just love to go and see what it smells like. Yeah, Ron, tacky. It just shows money cannot, I'm sure you mean not buy class. Exactly. Yeah, Beth, anything to keep from making money besides selling snake oil. He's a grifter. He always does this. We talked about this yesterday with the gold sneakers. He's done vodka. He's done steaks. He did, Trump University, where I don't know, it teaches you to be a moron. John says it smells like Trump sweat. Now I've really lost my appetite. Heather says it smells like ass sweat, spray tan, and Big Mac grease. I love it. Oh, I love it. And yeah, Flo, you're absolutely right. Flo writes, Nikki, his followers will be buying this up by the dozens. I don't want to smell. I'm just curious, right? I am just curious on what it smells like. There is no way I would buy it. And again, like, if he wasn't like such a threat to our democracy, it would be a great gag gift, right? Like for all your Republican friends. The problem is every dollar you give this nincompoop goes to to paying off his debt. And it's another grift and it's so bad. But yeah, I just feel like it's absolutely hilarious. He's just going to keep coming out with stuff like this. I'm telling you, it's just nuts. All right. A little more serious news when it comes to old Trumper and Biden and Hunter Biden. So did you hear the news? It came out yesterday that former FBI informant was basically lying. He has shocking Russian intelligence ties. So Tom Winters with NBC gave a great explanation, and I'm going to share it with you on the implications of all of this. And if you think that it's getting through to those that it should get through to, I'll have another video showing why. Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Here we go.
This new filing that we learned from the FBI that this guy, Alexander Smirnov, who now is charged with lying to the FBI, he, of course, had been the cornerstone, the star witness for this impeachment investigation into Joe Biden. Turns out he made it all up. But now there's a new twist to the story. What more do we know about his connections to Russia?
Right. Well, there's a whole lot of new information here, and I think it's really important to pay attention to the timeline. Something Alexander Smirnov clearly did not do, and that's a big reason why he's jammed up here. He appeared in court late yesterday. Our colleague Sarah Fitzpatrick was there wearing a yellow jumpsuit, said detainee on the back, and he was there with some members of his family who were speaking in Russian. I think when you look at this in the totality of what was in the detention memo, which was extraordinary. I mean, prosecutors use these to really put, the hammer down and show a little bit about what type of evidence they're going to bring forward. When you look at the filing yesterday, they went really deep in unclassifying information that was unclassified on Valentine's Day when Smirnov was arrested, deep into his background, that he was a 10-year plus source for the FBI, that he had a handler that he talked to, quote, nearly every day, which is a lot, by the way, for somebody who's a confidential human source. Somebody who had been run out of the Seattle field office, assigned to an agent who works in the criminal squad there. And the key line from this, and we'll show a portion of the document that was filed yesterday, is that it says during his custodial interview on February 14th, so this is an interview that occurs after Smirnov is in handcuffs, he admitted that officials associated with Russian intelligence were involved in passing a story about business person one, who we've publicly identified is Hunter Biden. So he told the FBI after he's in handcuffs, yes, I did this, and that it came from individuals associated with Russian intelligence. There's additional information that is that's contained in this document. You read some of the quotes, Willie, but it shows that overall he lied about a series of meetings in 2015 and 2016, phone calls in 2016 and 2017, and he didn't pay attention to what he already told the FBI. And so there's information that they write up in a report of 10, it's called the 1023 report, and that's just a summary of the conversation that they had with the guy. There's nothing in there that says whether or not they determined what he said was true or it made sense. But the 1023 is an interesting part of this because it speaks to the congressional component. If you remember, there was a big fight in Congress about whether or not a 1023 from a confidential human source about the Bidens should be released from the FBI.
This is important.
That happens in the spring of last year. This is ongoing. And then at some point, it's released. Then he speaks with the FBI again on multiple occasions. And as you said, there's further discussions about, well, this is what the Bidens were up to. There was even information about what Hunter Biden was up to at a hotel in Ukraine. Problem with that, prosecutors say Hunter Biden's never been there. So it raises questions as to whether or not the Russians took a look at the fact that information they're feeding this guy can go direct to Congress. And they're smart enough to realize, hey, you know what? We don't even need to try to push this through the FBI. We could just tell this guy whatever. Information's going to go in a report, and then it might just find its way to Congress. And there's no legal vetting here. There's nothing here that says whether or not what this guy said was true or not.
And a reminder to our viewers, this all stems from the investigation from Special Counsel David Weiss, a Trump-appointed prosecutor. So someone not particularly friendly to the Bidens. So let's take this a step further. Is the FBI suggesting in this filing in some way what it appears to be, which is that the Russian government, Russian intelligence, feeding this source that they know has a direct line to the FBI, bad information to damage the Bidens as we enter an election year?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's where yesterday's detention memo really went a step further than the indictment. I mean, they said that he was meeting with Russian officials, and people are looking through that and says, well, it sure seems like that could be code for Russian intelligence officials. But they flat out said, they didn't name those individuals, but they put in a lot of detail about their positions within the Russian intelligence community. He's meeting with them, and then he says, and they write in their memo that it was after he was arrested that he admitted that these individuals who are associated with Russian intelligence were involved in passing a business story on business person one, who's Hunter Biden. So I think that's a key part of this. Another thing that I would say is that this individual, according to some of the things that are in the indictment, had a background or at least had associates within Russian organized crime.
Yeah.
We think in this country of the mobs on one side and the government's on the other. And of course, we've seen some bad instances where there's been some crossover. But to understand Russia is to understand that Russian organized crime is completely interwoven with the way that their system works. From the intelligence side of things to the business side of things to the politics side of things. They're a huge part of the oil that greases the machine of Vladimir Putin and the current Russian state. And so for this person to have those, I'd be very curious to know more about what he knows about Russian organized crime and how that could have been involved in all of this.
This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. And you would think with this information coming out, right? That it would be a wake-up call for people in charge, but no, because again, Trump has such a hold on the Republican Party. They are unable to police within themselves, to take facts and figures. Now, all of a sudden, you know what it's going to be. That doesn't matter anymore. That's what they're going to say. Oh, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the person we based our whole entire case on has been proven to be a liar. That doesn't matter anymore. And of course, the best example was today with Jim Jordan.
His involvement in a bribery scheme. Now that Alexander Smirnov is proven to have made it up, and it was based off Russian intelligence.
Doesn't change the four fundamental facts.
Right.
Hunter Biden was put on the board of Burisma, gets paid $1 million a year. Fact number two, he's not qualified to be on the board. He said so himself in an interview. I don't know with you or some network. Law. Fact number three, Zolochevsky and Pizarski, the two executives at Burisma, specifically asked Hunter Biden, can you weigh in with D.C. and help us deal with the pressure we are facing?
Not against a lot of asking.
Fact number 4, Joe Biden. Then he gets called. Hunter Biden calls his dad, according to Devin Archer.
Not
Hunter
against
Biden's
the
business
law.
partner. Fact number 4, Joe Biden then goes to Ukraine 3 days later and conditions the release of the money, American tax money, on the firing of the prosecutor who was applying the pressure to the company that Hunter Biden sat on the board of.
You said the 1023 is the most corroborating piece of information you have.
Corroborates, but it doesn't change those fundamental facts. So now
it's not true.
Well,
That's not true.
Okay, so the FBI told us that this source was so 14.
So that is one thing that Jim Jordan did actually say just a few weeks ago about that information from the FBI informant who is alleged to have made all of this up, saying that this is what Jordan said. This is the most corroborating evidence we have is that 1023 form, referring to the form that the FBI officials filled out while they were interviewing this informant. He said this is coming from a highly credible, confidential human source. And now we know that that is not true. But
it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter to them. What do we do with the GOP? What do we do when they, and again, I mean, this is international implications. We could possibly see, and God forbid it happens, Trump back in the White House. Trump, who basically will not hold the screws to Vladimir Putin, praises him publicly, talks bad about NATO. He's a destabilizing individual. He threatens our national security, and people are like, yeah, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. The GOP is absolutely insane. Now, my only hope, of course, is that Trump, I say it all the time. I don't wish death on anybody. I'm not saying that. Do not put those words in my mouth. Okay. I want him to go away, though, in whatever way possible. I don't want him to become president of the United States. As we lead up, I know he hates the fact that Nikki Haley will not drop out. South Carolina primary is coming, and she's like, I'm going to Michigan. I don't care. And Trump hates it because the longer she stays in, the more, divided attention. He can't just target Joe Biden, blah, blah, blah. This was quite telling, though. He was doing an interview, Trump was, with Laura Ingraham, right? And and again, he likes to still tout the fact that the election was stolen, that he did really, really well, blah, blah, blah. But then, he's trying to do the whole election fraud thing again, because if he loses, there's fraud. If he wins, there's not. If he loses, there's fraud, but not for any Republicans that won, because Democrats are so smart. They are so smart that they would rig an election to make him lose, but that they wouldn't have power. Look, if I'm going to rig an election, I'm going all in. I'm just saying, like, if I have the power, right, to change votes, to make voting machines switch, all this sort of crap, right? If I have the ability to do that, I'm all in. I'm going to take control of everything. But no, I'm going to, allow, all these terrible things that have happened since Roe v. Wade, all those things to still happen. But I just don't want to see Trump in the White House. BS. He knows it's BS. But listen to how Laura Ingraham, because Fox does not want to get sued again. Laura Ingraham doesn't want to be caught in any sort of nonsense. Look how she pivots when Trump starts speaking his stupid nonsense again about mail-in voting, and how she kind of calls him out and he doesn't even want to hear it. I mean, listen to this exchange. It's crazy. Play. Oh, if I'm going to get an ad, I apologize. Hold on. Stop sharing. Interviewing Trump. And they were talking about mail-in voting, because if you pay attention to this election, Republicans will now start to promote mail-in voting. Here we go. Here is this exchange, because again, Trump says and doesn't like mail-in voting.
He's much smarter than the politicians. He's not going to be able to change. He's not going to be able to change that. He's destroyed our country. This guy is destroying our country.
Speaking of that, how are you going to make sure that mail-in ballots and voter fraud, which we heard from a lot of people in line, was an issue front and center? They're very concerned about mail-in voting. So forget the past. What are you going to do to make sure we don't have problems going forward?
If you have mail-in voting, you automatically have fraud. If you have
well, there's mail-in voting in Florida, and you won huge.
That's right.
There was mail-in.
If you have it, you're going to have fraud.
But you won.
Because
see, listen. So I'm going to just play that for you again. She corrects him and says there was mail-in balloting in Florida.
Fraud. If you have,
okay, well, there's mail-in voting in Florida, and you won huge.
That's right.
You won huge.
If you have it, you're going to have fraud.
But you won.
Because you don't have any. When you go into a voting place, like you go into one in a properly run state, they look at you, they give voter ID, you give all sorts of identification. I mean, it would be very hard to cheat in a mass scale. When you send out millions, like California, I think they sent out 36 million ballots. They don't have a voting booth in the whole place. And then millions of ballots come back. Nobody knows where they're coming from.
Right, but what are you going to do about it?
The way you win is by swamping them. The way you win
now he's
is
using
by
it as a good term.
swamping them. You got to have, and we're going to swamp. I'll tell you what.
Swamp.
I did great in the first election. I did much better in the second.
We have interesting news coming out of New
There
York,
you go,
by the way, the New York poll that just came out, which we're going to get to.
You did not do well in the last election. You lost, MFer. You lost by a lot. By a lot. And look, if he didn't believe, politicians do not spend the amount of money they do on elections if they didn't truly believe that they couldn't rig it. Like, if you could rig it, why would you spend so much time? Why would you spend so much money? Why would you do it? Because they're full of crap, okay? Mail-in balloting has been around forever. The last election that he lost, that you lost, Trump, that you lost, was the most closely watched and re-examined election of our time. He just doesn't like the result of it. I didn't like the result of the 2016 election either, right? And then you guys go, oh, Russian collusion, Russia. Oh, seems like the Russians are quite involved, right? In Trump and his business dealings. It's absolutely ridiculous. And when you latch yourself onto this nonsense, you get in trouble. So the Supreme Court yesterday let stand sanctions against release the Kraken attorney Sidney Powell. You'll remember, she's like, I'm going to release the Kraken, and other lawyers for abusing the court system with frivolous challenges to President Biden's 2020 victory in Michigan. The court rejected appeals from Powell, Lynn Wood, and 5 other lawyers allied with former President Trump. The lawyers facing sanctions spearheaded a legal effort to award Michigan's electoral college votes to Trump, despite the fact that he friggin' lost. A district judge called their suit a historic and profound abuse of the judicial process and imposed monetary and disciplinary sanctions. And do you think that Trump's going to dig deep for Powell and Wood and them? Hell no. They try to call him new phone who dis. He is not going to answer. He's not helping Rudy. He sure is helping Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. It's freaking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm glad. I hope that sends a message, just like you saw with Laura Ingraham. And I hope with Sidney Powell and other attorneys that want to align themselves with Trump and who knows what's going to happen in the next election, knock yourself out. But Trump is going to abandon your ass the minute the heat comes, and you actually have to prove the nonsense that you're talking about. I had no problem after the 2020 election. If they want to go through the systems that we have in place for hand counting, if it's close enough, all those sorts of, I have no problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is that once it's been examined and the truth is given to you, and you still try to fight it and do what Powell and Wood did, no. Then there's another election in 4 years. Give it another shot. That's all I got to say. I mean, we can't keep looking backwards. We have to look forward, and there's things we need to do. We can't be paralyzed by the nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, let's go from national to state. I totally missed it, and I was very proud of myself. I don't know where I was. I completely forgot that there was the final debate between those trying to replace the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. A heads up, because I have not filled out my ballot. I do the mail-in balloting and all that. You have to vote twice for U.S. Senate, right? It's to who's going to finish Feinstein's term and then who gets another term, right? So you have to vote for both. Just to kind of give that a heads up. So apparently it got pretty heated again. I will say that I think that Katie Porter is really just throwing it on the line, right? Like, she's trying to give it her best shot on trying to beat Adam Schiff. I want to show you a little bit of her attacking Adam Schiff, because what Schiff is doing, in case you haven't noticed, in his ads, he's totally targeting Garvey. I don't know why I call him Harvey all the time. Steve Garvey. Okay. In his ads. And then there's some for Katie Porter. There's one that says she takes PAC money and they say $100,000, which she explained in the last debate. It wasn't PAC money. She was paid because she did consulting for some of these organizations to improve the things that she had been critical about. So it's politics. It's campaign ads. Let me play a little bit. I mean, normally Porter is very concise. She doesn't go over time, but she's all in because this is the last debate. Here we go.
Representative Schiff, I didn't realize how much dirty money you took until I was running against you. You've taken money from big oil, big pharma, cable companies, and other industries.
All right, we're gonna keep. He
doesn't normally do this.
Schiff may have prosecuted big oil companies before he came to Congress, but when he got to Congress, he cashed checks from companies like BP, from fossil fuel companies. I have delivered results on climate in my few years in Congress. I have raised the rate, my legislation to raise the rate on polluters when they drill in our public lands was signed into law.
I gave that money to you, Katie Porter. And I wasn't
in office when you were taking fossil
the only
fuels.
response I got was thank you, thank you, thank you. But look, at the end of the day, it's about what have you gotten done? I didn't hear anything from Representative Porter about anything she's actually accomplished.
I like Katie Porter. I'm a Katie Porter supporter. Do I think that we're going to be in a bad state if it's Adam Schiff? No. Do I think we'll be in a bad Schiff if it's Garvey? Yes. Garvey has zero experience. It's not only the fact that he's a Republican and a MAGA and a Trump supporter and will likely fall in line. He tried to portray himself as a consensus. He's going to try to build consensus. Now, as someone who's rewatching The West Wing, I was telling Chip last night, I'm in season 2 where they hired a Republican to be one of their lawyers. And it's kind of like you have to speak the language of the other side. And that's how you build consensus. Do I think that Garvey even understands how the system works well enough to be able to speak the language and explain it to both sides? No, I do not. No, I do not. He's inexperienced. And God, if you're going to put up a Republican to try to take this, a Senate seat that has as big issues to fill as Dianne Feinstein's seat, no. Not, but I do think that has the name recognition and he has the R after his name. Phineas, it's a number of groups. I'm assuming they're super PACs. I don't know. I literally always hear the ad and I forget the name of it. But you know, it's when they said Katie Porter has taken $100,000, not that it doesn't matter, right? But one, she explained it in the last debate. So you can go back and listen to that. And two, $100,000 in politics ain't a ton of money. So even if it was a negative, it's not that big of a negative, but she explained it already. And I don't know if it's a Adam Schiff PAC. I don't know if it's a Garvey PAC, but obviously it's one of those. Now, Vilma, you've said something interesting. You say, I love Katie Porter, but it's not her time for the Senate. Okay. This is how I feel about Katie Porter. One, she holds a very important seat, right, in Congress. It's in Southern California. She's surrounded by red. It's good to have someone like that there. Okay, so I get that. On the other hand, you know, Senate's terms are long. You know, if it's not her time, I mean, Adam Schiff is young too. I'm not saying that he's an old man, so it's not like he can't hold it for a very long time. I just feel like, why not shake? I really do think that Katie Porter will shake things up. I really do. So I just feel like, again, even if it was Barbara Lee, which Barbara Lee is at the bottom of the polling when it comes to these four, unfortunately, because this is going to be Barbara Lee's last kind of hurrah to go for it, right? Because of her age, and it might sound ageist, but it's just the facts. I just kind of feel like we can't go wrong. I won't be unhappy with anybody unless it's Garvey. That's true. And BW, I know you're just kidding, but please, Katie changed my mind. I'm voting for Garvey. That's funny. And yeah, John, there have been some nasty attack ads on Katie Porter, and I think it's because, and they're likely supporters of Adam Schiff. I think it's because Adam Schiff totally wants to go up against Garvey and not Porter in the general, because he wants to go up against a Republican. He doesn't want to go up against another Democrat. He doesn't, obviously. And Lori, you're absolutely right. Lori writes, I understand the early high intensity level of your rant this morning now. Watching too many Fox clips too early. I know. Prepping for the show. I don't have Kim to kind of calm me down the whole entire time. I don't. We'll get to some lighter stuff in news. And again, we will be talking about sleep, which, how was your guys' sleep last night, right? John says, Garvey seems spineless. If he wouldn't say that he would support Trump when everyone knows he will, of course. If he's not going to just say, you know what? I like his Republican policies. And it's, again, sometimes I feel like I should be a speechwriter, right? Like there's ways of saying things that get the heat off of you. If I was Garvey's, assistant, I'd be like, look, you say, yes, I voted for Trump because I'm a Republican and I support the Republican policies and I voted for him twice. And the second time was before the insurrection. I mean, he could totally talk himself out of being criticized for voting for Donald Trump. I mean, the insurrection happened after the last election. So you'd be like, but I understand the criticism given what happened on January 6th, blah, 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 blah. They're not smart enough to do stuff like that. And and you have to take the heat for what you did. You just have to. Sorry. Let's see. How much money has Schiff taken? Well, Schiff's also been in politics for a hell of a lot longer than Katie Porter. So you have to keep that in mind. Not saying it's good or bad. Phineas. I know Adam and his family personally. He's 63. 63 in politics is not old. It's not young. It's not old, though. I mean, I would say, 6-year terms. So 12-year, he could retire by 75, which whatever. We'll see. I don't know. Who says he's going to win? Who says he's going to win? Does that seem old to you, Phineas? I don't feel like that's very, very old for politics, but maybe it should start being, right? I think that's what a lot of people are saying. Spencer says he already voted. How many of you have already sent in you had to already register, although you can still do same day registration, but I'm a permanent absentee voter. I like it, but I turn my ballot in person, which I just don't like waiting in the line. I like to sit at home, take my time and fill it out. So we'll see what happens in the U.S. Senate race. Now, down in Southern California, Karen Bass, who we know well, obviously, she is the mayor of LA. She had made a promise when she started that she was going to clean and clear the streets of LA of their homeless within her first term. And CNN actually was covering the progress happening down there. Here's a little bit of that piece on CNN.
Mayor Bass took me to see the cleanup firsthand, getting people out of tents and onto buses and into temporary housing. They leave behind anything they cannot carry.
I was recently stabbed about 2 weeks ago. This is like a godsend right now, like getting indoors and being away from this.
Inside Safe is the name of Mayor Bass's flagship program to tear down these encampments and bring LA's unhoused indoors.
So when I spoke to you about a year ago, you talked about your goal for homelessness and the end of homelessness in Los Angeles by the end of your first term.
Well, I think the progress is going well. We destroyed the myth that people do not want to leave the tents. People don't want to leave the cars and their RVs. We've had the opposite problem. We have more people willing to leave than we have rooms for.
In a remarkable new study, researchers at the University of California, San Francisco surveyed thousands of the homeless in California. Nearly 90% of participants said high housing costs were a barrier to their moving into permanent housing. And the majority of those surveyed did want to get off the streets.
There are people on the street that don't want to be housed, but most of them do, It's just finding the right housing for them in the right situation.
Major factors to finding housing are high rents and low income.
Well, yeah. And so we know all of those sorts of things. I wanted to move ahead a bit. Hold on. Let me see if this is it. So, because again, she talks about putting these people into these kind of containers, very temporary housing, and it's hard. So
Understanding about homelessness in this country.
Hold on, let's move it back.
Since the launch of Inside Safe, more than 2,000 people have moved into interim housing, but only 329 have moved into permanent housing.
That's not a lot.
Since Mayor Bass took office, the program has cost LA more than $53 million, but the city argues it was well spent and points out the fire department spent nearly $125 million, on incidents involving unhoused people last year.
There is a misunderstanding about homelessness in this country.
Exactly.
A lot of people think it's just people with psychological problems or just people with addiction.
We have about 9,000 children who are homeless in Los Angeles. Some of them are in and out of school. Some of them attend school, but many are living in cars and RVs. One of the fastest growing sectors of the unhoused population are senior citizens, people in their 60s and 70s. They get priced out of the market and they wind up unhoused.
Even so.
And I want to stop it right there because that whole senior citizen aspect, it also, it trickles up, and I'm going to say it trickles up to housed senior citizens, because if you live in California because of Prop 13, you don't want to sell your probably, single family home that is made for families because you can't afford anything in the same area. So they're not giving up their housing, which means that families aren't able to move into theirs. We don't pay people enough on the lower end scale. And so, you're, as they say, an emergency away from being unhoused. It's awful. It's so hard.
California is trying to tackle mental health and substance abuse by implementing care courts to push those who need it off the streets and into treatment.
This is a controversial opinion. I don't think it's okay to be profoundly mentally ill, walking in and out of traffic.
I agree.
And
absolutely agree.
Be allowed to be there.
Yeah.
I think some people might need to be hospitalized, and they might need to be hospitalized against their will.
Yep.
And I think it is inhumane to allow people to die on the streets.
The short-term solution, get people out of the tents, off the street, out of the cars, into these containers. But this isn't a long-term solution for the problem.
No,
right?
but let me just tell you what short-term is. I think short-term is about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
And I say that because it takes a while to build housing. Unfortunately, the policy de facto had been, you stay on the street while we build something. I think that is completely unacceptable. So what is the solution? Just putting somebody in a house is not enough. There needs to be health care and other social services support. And then they need to go into permanent housing.
And I think that it all needs to be in the same location. I'm just going to add that to the end. I think if you're going to build transitional housing, the support services needs to be in the building. You can't just let people there without job placement. Mental health services, all those sorts of things also need to be there, but they don't have enough people. There's not enough people that go into these fields. The human infrastructure is always the problem, it seems like, right? Oh, we have this great program that we want to do, but we don't have enough people to work it. And then the people that do work it aren't paid nearly enough. So why would people want to go into that field? It's the same for schools. We are desperate for teachers. Desperate for teachers. Why? Because we don't pay teachers enough. We mess with their jobs. We mess with their income. We mess with the curriculum. No wonder people don't want to go into it. I always think about going into teaching, at the very least becoming a substitute teacher, and I'm frightened to death about it. I don't know what I'd be stepping into, and although, again, I know I just keep saying this today for some reason, and it's always when you start watching a show again, rewatching The West Wing, they were talking about this crap back in the 90s, right? Or whenever this stupid show was on. I love that show. It's not stupid. But they were talking about people don't want to become teachers. This country doesn't respect education the way other countries do. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Education should fall under the umbrella of public safety. When you educate the population, things improve in all areas. It's just true. And this country has it ass backwards. And I'm not knocking football players and celebrities and all that. I understand, capitalism. But our schools should be places, and this was kind of a quote. I think it was Rob Lowe that gave the quote. They should be palaces. People should be dying to become teachers because they're treated so well, right? That's how it should be. But it's not. It's not. And we're facing the consequences of it. We're facing the consequences of an uneducated populace, and it sucks. It really, really sucks. Okay, let me do some newsy headlines. President Biden is making his first trip to the Bay Area since APEC. Now, obviously we know that there's going to be an ton of protesters over Gaza and everything else freaking going on right now. So he was in LA, or he is in LA, And then he's going to be coming to the Bay Area. He was there last night. He's going to fly into SFO this afternoon. He's going to attend 2 campaign fundraisers, and then he's going to go to Los Altos for another fundraiser tomorrow. Now, according to Puck with a P News, the fundraiser Wednesday night is being held by the Getty family. Nancy Pelosi is expected to be there. God, you know how much tickets are? Guess how much tickets to go to this one is? How much you would have to pay for one ticket per person to go to the fundraiser tonight that's being held by the Getty family, and Nancy Pelosi is there. Anybody want to guess? Guess how much? It's a lot. I mean, for some, in some areas of the country, not here necessarily, but you can almost buy a house for it. Nope, way too low. Times it by 10. Tickets are $100,000. $100,000 per person. Going back to what I was just saying about teachers. Friggin' A. No teacher is going to be there. No teacher can afford a $100,000 per person ticket to get the ear of President Biden, to rub shoulders with the movers and the shakers. That's the problem. Now, I understand that it's a fundraiser for President Biden to go up against Donald Trump and blah, 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 blah. But come on now. I would love to be a teacher to bend the ear of President Biden. Although I will say his ear is a lot more bendable, I think, than some other presidents. And I'm sure he does care. I mean, I think today it broke that there's even more student loan debt forgiveness for several thousand students. But again, it's so sad to see. Yeah, exactly. For many, yeah, Phineas, that's twice teachers' annual pay. Now, it's just hard. It's just hard. It really, really is. It's hard to feel like your voice is going to be heard when you hear and read that it's $100,000 per person to go to some of these fundraisers where you know things are going to be decided, where you know connections are going to be made. It's just, it sucks. It is what it is. Did you see this? And this pissed me off. And I don't know that he's an incel, but I'm going to make the joke anyway. Tell me you're an incel without telling me you're an incel. Tell me you're a douche canoe at the very least without saying a word, although this guy did say a lot. We're not playing it. This is from KTVU. But this was what happened. So Walnut Creek stopped taking a public comment through Zoom. So, of course, some asshats have to show up in person. Here we go.
The man who identified himself as Scotty, he wore sunglasses and then another swastika around his neck. He made various anti-Semitic comments, including announcing his disappointment in the city's October decision to shut down public comments that could be made on Zoom in the comments there during their city council meetings. That decision came after months of anti-Semitic harassment on those meetings. Now, after the man's comments, which included a salute to Hitler at the end, the council members and the mayor pro tem alike seemed surprised and appalled by the man's speech.
Yeah.
We live in a free country and there is free speech. And that means we have to listen to awful and heinous comments like we just listened to. And I would like to apologize on behalf of the city council and anybody that had to hear that horrible, horrible speech.
Some Jews' feelings got hurt.
Now, the mayor added that those comments do not represent the city as a whole. I got a text message after the meeting last night from city council member Charles Kruling. He told me that the speech, he called it vile and hateful, and again, mentioning that it does not represent the city of Walnut Creek.
Eric says, notice he filmed himself as well. He was expecting something to happen, or he was live streaming to his other hateful incels that he's probably hanging out with. I don't know how, and I am calling him an incel, even though I don't know. An incel is involuntarily celibate. It's men who think that women should just screw them because they're men and, they're in power or whatever. Be nicer. Don't be a douche canoe. Don't go and spread hateful messages at city council meetings, and maybe a chickle, but you don't. This is you. This is your personality. This is what you choose to do with your free time, is to go to a Walnut Creek City Council meeting, spew hate, throw up the arm for Hitler of all people. Yeah, you're going to get laid, dude. Sure. Whatever. It's, and again, I'm not Jewish, but I can't imagine what it was like for Wilk to sit there and have to listen to that nonsense. You know what I mean? It's absolutely abhorrent for someone to do something like that. And not only that, I mean, his shirt said white power. It's just, I just keep thinking of the Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you guys know the Dave Chappelle skit where he's a blind black man, but he's a member of the KKK because he doesn't know that he's black. It's just, it's sad. It's sad that there's still people that think like this. It really is. Mama Three Boys, I love your comment. When I see these people, I always wonder, where are their parents? And I'll say this, maybe they aren't around. Maybe they're the ones that instill this hate in him. I just wish that people would use their time to be more constructive, to be more loving and empathetic. Like, what happened to this dude that this is what he chooses to spend his time doing? To be mean and hateful? It's just, I don't get it. Anonymous says his views are hateful, but 1, he's doing it at a city council to express his free speech. America, yes, true. 2, he isn't hiding himself so the community can find this guy. True. And 3, isn't blocking bridges and commerce. True. But again, I'm just talking about the humanity of it all. Like, and the waste of time. Like, he's speaking into an echo chamber. If he was live streaming or if he's posting that on his socials, he's talking to people like him. You're not changing my behavior or my opinion of Jewish people because you put a white power shirt on and go to a city council meeting. You're indoctrinating those that already think like you, who for some reason feel like the world owes them something because of the color of their skin. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I am surprised he hasn't been doxxed too. I'm always surprised when people who do stupid, hateful, crazy things in public aren't immediately like found and vilified for it, but it doesn't always happen. Now, he had a goatee, he had sunglasses, he had a hat on. I don't know. He kind of looks like he could look like a lot of people is what I'm trying to say. Beth says there's a guy who lives in a different city who shows up and raises a stink at our local city meetings. Yeah. And apparently the FBI, this guy went by the name of Scotty. The FBI knows who he is, as was mentioned. He's on their radar. He's not, but go ahead, show up. I wish people would call him out. But again, yeah, that's my favorite saying for people like this, Lori, is douche canoe. I just feel like if I was there, and you guys always say, don't do it, Nikki. I just feel like I would be like, shame on you. What is wrong with you? That's what I would say. I'd probably be like, as he walked out, just like, what the hell is wrong with you? You douche canoe. That's what I would say. Absolutely. Liz says, I wouldn't be surprised if he was identified and then fired. Should he be? I mean, this is America. You have free speech. He went to the city council meeting. He didn't hit anyone. He didn't, he didn't cause it. He didn't run up to Wilk and punch him in the face. Do you think? And he didn't identify his employer. Let's also say that, Liz. Okay. So you don't know where he works. He went by the name of Scotty, but who knows if that's his real name. If you worked with this guy, would you want him to be fired for what he did, exercising his free speech? I mean, I would, but I'm wondering, is that a move that an employer should do if they weren't even linked to him? I guess if the person is doxxed and then everyone starts writing the company and the company starts getting bad press, that's the problem. Vilma says this person doesn't understand history, doesn't understand how it must have felt to be Jewish and live under the Nazis. They believed in a pure race. Yeah. It's just crazy. Phineas, yep, that racist bigot is an adult. It's too late for his parents. I can't imagine. I mean, can you imagine being a parent and you don't subscribe to these beliefs? That's very important. And you turn on the news and you see your son with this, with the white power shirt, spewing the nonsense. I mean, how just awful it must be. Hate speech isn't free speech. you can say, Hail Hitler. You can, Phineas. You can. You can say out loud that you don't like Jews. What you can't do is you can't commit violence while saying those things. Yeah. Katie says, what a miserable life hateful people must have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brian says, why are you surprised? Anti-Semitism is on the rise and I feel it and see it daily. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I understand that. I guess because I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to hate, right? I extremely dislike Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong, right? But I cannot understand. I guess that's more the word I'm looking for. Understand. I can't understand this, that this is what you dedicate your life to. That you not only spend your time going to these city council meetings, but obviously he's reading, he's in these chat groups and social media forums spouting this. This is what you like when you wake up in the morning. This is what you choose to do with your time. This is, I'm going to start my day with hate. Nice big cup of joe of hate. I don't understand that mentality, and I'm glad I don't. Vilma says, let the person have a say at a city council meeting if that's the situation. Just don't live stream it. You give him what he wants if you live stream. Yeah, and the KTVU reporter didn't air what he said because they didn't want to give him the platform, but of course they showed his image. You're right, Luis. You can't shame the shameless. True. Oh, Mama Three Boys. When I took my son to his school carnival last year, there was a family in line in front of me. The dad had white pride tattooed on his calves. It scared me. These people don't hide. And what is white? Like, this is what always boggles my mind about white power. Like, are you German? Are you French? Are you like, white is a color. And again, because, you can't tell necessarily what someone is, and the whole idea of a pure race, get a little muddy there. It's hard to find someone, the whole 23andMe thing where it's just 100% one thing. Liz says, yes, 100%. That movement is violent and it's a threat to employees' safety. Yes, she believes, Liz, that he should be fired for that. Grady says, if he was your garbage man, no big deal. Teacher, that's a no-go. Interesting. Harry believes bigots like that have very low self-esteem, which is why they have to denigrate others. Yep, Luis, you're absolutely right. He's free to spew his hateful speech, but he's not guaranteed a job. Fire his ass. Yeah, it's just, and Sandy, again, it's through history, sadly, right? It's awful. But Sandy says, I never understood anti-Semitism. Why do people hate Jewish people so much? It's never made any sense to me. And it's awful, and it doesn't make sense to me either. And I wish that it would have died out, right, within generations, but it hasn't. And if I was Jewish, seeing exactly what's going on in current history, it would scare me too. Vilma says, I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling proud to be white. The thing is that most people that profess to be proud of being white are 9 times out of 10 racists. Okay. I'm going to push back just a bit on the 9 out of 10. And I'm going to say it's 10 out of 10. Okay. And this is why I feel like it. I feel like if you're proud to be white, which is what you said, you're not proud to be white. You're proud to be, I love my Jewish heritage, or French. I love being French. I love being, like, you're more specific. If you're just proud to be white, racist. That's just how I believe. Like, if it's just white, if it's literally the color of your skin, racist. I could be wrong. I mean, you could disagree with me, Vilma, but no, it's 10 out of 10. There is no friggin' way someone's like, I am so proud to be white. No, you're proud to be whatever, fill in the blank, that is European and, has that color skin. But to be proud of being white, I disagree. I think it's totally racist. If somebody looked at me and says, I'm proud to be white, I'd be like, uh-oh. There's something wrong with you. Take a big step back, right? Big, exactly, Gordon. 10 out of 10. Nobody says I'm proud to be white, and they don't mean it in racist terms. I'm sorry. Exactly. Sandy, nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage, Irish, German, Dutch, but being proud of being white is very racist. And it's so stupid. I heard the funniest joke. This black woman, I don't know her heritage, was on, I think it was like Instagram or something. And she said there was this joke that I always crack up about. She's like, I don't know how a white person with acne can be racist. It's like, worry about your own skin. And I laugh about it because it's so true. It's like, you don't like somebody because of the color, because of their skin. The most inconsequential thing there is, skin. It's stupid. It is so dumb. And it's so dumb to be proud of the color of your skin. It's so stupid. So yeah, every time I see that, I always think of that joke. It's actually pretty funny. Judy says, I'm white. I don't think much about it. I'm just me. I don't see my skin color as something to take pride in. Exactly. Now, Judy, I don't know what, if you're Irish, Dutch, whatever. But if you have like, meals that you make or a tradition that you have and you want to keep that within your culture and pass, yes, do that. But I'm going to pass down my pride in being white. What is that besides being racist? I mean, white doesn't have a like a meal that they make. Although there's jokes there somewhere. You know what I'm saying though. It's just an odd at the very least and hateful at the very most thing to be proud of. It's just absolutely crazy. All right, continuing the headlines, Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder's bid to avoid extradition. It was the final day of his extradition hearing. The U.S. presented its arguments on why the High Court should not permit Assange to appeal his extradition from the UK to the U.S. Lawyers for the United States said the WikiLeaks founder should be extradited to face spying charges because they claim he put innocent lives at risk by releasing hundreds of thousands of classified U.S. government documents. God, this has been going on for so long. They also said Assange could not be treated as akin to an ordinary journalist or WikiLeaks as an ordinary publisher. Now, Assange's lawyers told the court that the case was politically motivated, arguing Assange was targeted for his exposure of state-level crimes. The judges have not given a decision. We don't know when it's going to be announced. Assange was not in court again today because apparently he's in poor health. So we are definitely keeping our eyes on that. Some really sad local news. Did you hear? And this is here in my hometown, so that's why it always sticks out to me because there's always bad crimes out there, right? But God, a customer allegedly strangled another customer to death inside a San Jose convenience store. This was on Monday afternoon at this liquor store. It's Williams Liquor on Lee Avenue. Apparently, two customers got into an altercation or some sort of dispute near the ATM, and one customer choked to death another customer. Now, I maintain this. I always do. I feel like if you're to kill somebody at your own hands, like with your own hands, you got to be out of your mind. You got to be out of your gourd. Like insane to do that. Now, and I'm not I understand people don't want to. If I saw somebody choking somebody else, I don't know if I'd physically step in. I'm a very small person and those sorts of things. But Jesus, if I was standing there, I'd be like, at some point, hey, get off him. Start throwing a can of Coke or something at his head. That was nuts. Then this tragic story early yesterday where this poor child, 3-year-old, was shot and killed. Not the craziest. There was this live-in boyfriend shot and killed this 3-year-old. And then I heard this on KTVU and I was screaming at my TV. They're like, there's no known motive. Motive? There's no motive of killing a 3-year-old. We don't know why this insane in the brain guy shot a child. But that investigation continues. So sorry to bring everybody down on that. That YouTube mom, Ruby Frankie, remember that YouTube mother of 6 whose kid escaped with duct tape all around them? And that she was on YouTube, all these friggin' followers talking about her parenting. Oh my God. And there's like a documentary about her. She's nuts. And the woman that she did the podcast with, also nuts. She was apologizing before her sentencing. I think hold on. It might be a little hot. I don't know why the sound is so hot, but here she is trying to apologize for her.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to District Court. We're here for sentencing in the matter of State of Utah versus Ruby Franke.
I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused.
So she's been sentenced. Ruby Franke is a nutcase. Honestly, watch her documentary. I want to say it's on Hulu, but I could be wrong. So she was sentenced. It could put her in prison for years. Let's see. Up to 1 to 15 years was the service, but I'm trying to find. I thought I had it right up here, but yeah, she had pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse for trying to convince Franke's 2 youngest children they were evil, along with this Hildebrandt woman that she did the podcast with. So she could face 15 years in prison. The women will only serve up to 30 years in prison due to Utah state law. There it is. That caps the sentence duration for consecutive penalties. So I'm glad she's in jail. She deserves to be in jail. It's absolutely, it's so sad, and I know that I have a platform on here with YouTube. I'm not acting like a child expert, a parenting expert. That's for damn sure. I'm just a parent, and we all kind of commiserate on that. But when you have a platform where, I don't know, I think it was like millions of people are listening to you and you're doing that to your kid, oh my God, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to do it right now, Phineas. This is kind of insane. Russia has detained, now she has dual citizenship between Russia and America, has detained a ballerina. Listen to this.
An American blindfolded, handcuffed, and behind bars. Russia's Federal Security Service releasing this video showing what they say is the detainment of a 33-year-old woman with dual Russian-American citizenship. NBC News confirming her identity with a senior U.S. official as ballerina Ksenia Karolina from Los Angeles, who obtained her American citizenship in 2021.
She's just a sunshine. She brings good energy,
so sad.
Kindness, love everywhere where she shows up.
Russian officials say she was detained on suspicion of treason for allegedly raising money to support Ukraine's war effort, adding, while in the U.S., she repeatedly took part in public actions in support of the Kyiv regime.
We are aware of the case. We are seeking consular assistance that has not yet been granted.
The State Department now cautioning the support they can give this dual citizen may be limited.
Russia does not recognize dual citizenship, considers them to be Russian citizens first and foremost. And so oftentimes we have a difficult time getting consular assistance, but we will pursue it in all matters where a U.S. citizen is detained.
Karolina detained in the Russian city of Yekaterinburg, the same city in the Ural Mountains where Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was detained on charges of espionage last year. Today, a Moscow court rejecting an appeal from his legal team, ruling the journalist will stay in custody pending a trial. Gershkovich and the Wall Street Journal have strongly denied the allegations of spying.
We're disappointed but not surprised by the outcome of the hearing. As you've heard me say many times from this podium, the charges against him are baseless. Russia should immediately release Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan, and the United States will continue to work towards securing both of their freedom.
Yeah, it still blows my mind that they're still over there. Eric said, if I had any ties to America, I would not be anywhere near Russia right now. Absolutely a political prisoner like that basketball player. Vinny says the story is insane and shows how bad things are in Russia, the military state. U.S. State Department told Americans to get out of Russia now. Hell yeah, I would not be anywhere near there. Especially, just to go back to it, as we head towards the presidential election. They should get everybody out. Everybody out. But yeah, and thank you, Phineas. That wasn't really actually on my radar, but I saw you put that in there earlier, and it's insane. A little bit closer to home, and with the Chinese New Year parade happening in San Francisco this weekend, it is the Year of the Dragon. Police in San Francisco making sure that we're just hearing more and more stories of these blessing scams. And it's like Groundhog's Day. It happens, sadly, this time of year. Last month, an elderly woman told officers in San Francisco that she was walking in the Outer Mission neighborhood when a man and woman approached her. The woman joined them, began speaking about evil spirits that would harm the victim. Eventually, the suspects convinced the woman to gather her valuables to be blessed. She took her money and her jewelry, handed it over, and lost all of it. People are putting sometimes their life savings in boxes to be blessed, to avoid the evil spirits, handing it over. And then when they get the box back, it's filled with nothing, like garbage and trinkets and nothing. So again, we were talking about culture and heritage, and I'm not knocking blessings in certain cultures, like the Chinese cultures, that there is, this belief and this tradition of doing these sorts of things. You have to be careful. People will take advantage. And, I'm not name calling, and I'm not going to call these people dumb or whatever. But according to the DA's office, the scams primarily target monolingual Chinese women. And so they've launched this public awareness campaign within several community groups to educate the public about the scams. It sucks. I mean, especially, again, within your culture where there is a tradition to do these sorts of things and people learn about it. They say the right words. They scare people enough, and then things like this happen. And you just don't want stuff like this to happen. How many of you have done something that now Apple says you should no longer do? Apparently, if you get your iPhone wet, do not put it in a bag of rice. Now, Apple's never fully endorsed this method, although I have. I don't have to worry about this. So last night, I was in the bathroom with my kid, and like some water spilled on the sink, and my phone was right next to it. And all this water pooled around my phone. But you know what? I don't have to worry about it. I have the best case. I am not one of those, like my good friend Brett Burkhardt, who loves to see his fancy schmancy phone without a case on. My phone went into this case the moment I bought it. Oh, and it matches my shirt because it's my favorite color, purple. It's an OtterBox. I mean, I could drop it from the top of a building and the darn thing. And it has this thing that covers up the ports, right? So if it is water, it's rubber. It's totally protected. This is what you need to do just in case. But apparently Apple is now coming out officially advising against the rice method. Apple asserts that not only does the widely used rice trick lack its endorsement, but it could harm the device. They don't put your iPhone in a bag of rice. Doing so could allow, and I've seen this happen, small particles of rice to damage your phone. So what people do is they take their phone out of their case if it gets wet, and it's not as cool as mine, and they submerge it in rice. And then the rice gets into all the little ports. Apparently this started almost as soon as the iPhones were introduced in 2007. The method involves sealing the phone in a bag of uncooked rice and waiting a couple of days. Now, I've done it and it has worked, but I've also taken a little bobby pin or something, or a needle, and had to take little bits of rice out of the ports. So I love all of you that said it. John says iPhones are supposed to be water resistant. The newer ones, the older ones weren't. And I'm not going to test my phone that I paid how much money for by dunking it in the toilet. Stupid. And you know how it happens. This is how it happened to me with the time that you put your phone in your back pocket and then you go pee. Now, for women out there, understand this. So you pull your pants down, fine. That's not a problem. You don't realize the phone's still in your pocket. It's when you pull your pants up and then it hits your butt and then the phone goes right into the toilet. That's how it happens. So stupid. So gross. Eric says, yes, my phone went also in an OtterBox before it even left the store. Good thing, because it accidentally dropped it before I got in the car. Have you seen those videos of people that get the new iPhones and then they open the box, which has the suction of God on it, right? And so then the suction causes the phone to come out, falls, breaks. Stupid. Sandy says an iPhone phone case is very important to have. They're extremely fragile. I often wonder why they make them so fragile that you need a case, but I would never use my phone without a case. This is a good thing. My husband actually has a big bag of the silica, those little silicone packets that are in everything that keep things dry. You'll also see them in Beef jerky sometimes will have it. Certain foods will have like, don't eat it. It'll say, do not eat, because you're a friggin' moron that you'd eat it. Patricia also has one. I'm a believer of mobile cases and a screen protector. We just bought the screen protectors. Even though this has a pretty thick lip on it, you know, I like to put something over it. When I traded in this phone, they took the screen protector off, totally all cracked up, but my phone wasn't. It's totally worth it. Doug says it's a nice case. Yes, exactly. Mama, I'm too practical to own an iPhone. I know. I got suckered into the ecosystem, as they like to call it. I know, Phineas. How can you not put a $1,500 phone in a protective case? Some people don't. Oh, stop. I will not. BW. I'm calling BS on BW. I will not use my phone in a bathroom. That's gross. You are so full of it. I find it very hard to believe. I don't mean to be name calling. Maybe you're the one person. You're you're standing with the person that's proud to be white, but it's not racist. That's where you are. Is that where you are? Okay. I'm just making fun of you. Okay. If you don't use it and you think it's gross, fine. You're alone in that. I'm sorry. Oh gosh, John, that's a science experiment. John says, I dropped my Android in a bucket of caustic cleaning solution once. It was not good. Randy also standing with BW. I don't use my phone in the bathroom. Whatever. I'm calling BS. Whatever. John says, I got a really good case for the Galaxy S4. Still have it. Screen not cracked and phone works like it did. Exactly. You need a case. And you get a fancy one. You can get a clear one, but the otter one, the top of the line, most protective, can drop from the top of the building. It's not clear. It's really, really good. So, but again, if you drop it in the toilet, Apple says we are not subscribing to the idea of putting it in a bag of rice. Apparently, Chipotle is facing a boycott ban that again, your almighty dollar is the way you protest. And if you are offended by this, okay. So Chipotle has angered conservatives on social media, and I'm not conservative, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. Apparently, one person had posted on Reddit that they're a 23-year-old college student. They were working at Chipotle, and they were written up for accidentally, and I'm putting this in quotes because it's quoted in the thing, accidentally misgendering a new employee during training. Now, I'm just getting my information from this article. So if there is something that I'm missing, okay, but I'm siding with the employee on this, not the new employee, the one that got written up. So the employee says, I would say I'm known for being pretty friendly. I was recently training a new hire, someone I'd never met in my life. Okay, I do not know this person. And as I was showing them how to set up a line, I said, oh, bro, we never move anything without gloves. They snap back and say, my pronouns are they, them. Use them correctly or don't talk to me. I take a step back and go throughout my day without speaking to this little blank and the S word. Later into the shift, the general manager pulled the poster aside, the older employee. The new employee had reported them for misgendering harassment. The manager said his hands are tied. I have to receive a full-ass write-up. Like, I'm not tripping, right? Should I just quit or what? I think that the manager handled this completely wrong. Okay. I really do. I think that in the initial introduction, the manager, right? We are in 2024. I have no problem with pronouns. You just have to give me a heads up and also like give me a sec. Okay. Like it's unfair and unrealistic for people to not instinctually go by what they see. And I'm just going to be blunt about that. If you look a certain gender and the person assumes you are a certain gender, educate them. And if there is a continual misgendering going on, that I would say is harassment. Like if you've been told, a number of times, look, their pronouns are this, that, and the other. Okay. But the first friggin' time, if I was the manager, I would have gone up to the new employee and been all, one, we don't talk to coworkers that way, right? We want to be respectful. We educate people. We are an inclusive environment. Now that you have explained to us what your pronouns are, we can make an announcement. We can let people know. We can put it on your friggin' name tag if we need to, right? Just to give people a heads up. But do not come at employees that had no idea. So I think that Chipotle is wrong. I don't eat Chipotle, really. I mean, I've eaten it, and I'm not even exaggerating. I think I've eaten Chipotle twice in my entire life. But of course, now conservatives are like, Chipotle has gone woke because of this one interaction at one Chipotle. Give me a friggin' break over here. And yes, Eric, good point. Bro and dude are kind of gender neutral terms now. I mean, dude, I would say more than bro. Just let's be honest, Eric. Bruh, you have to have the on it. Bruh, I would say is gender neutral. My daughter uses it with me all the friggin' time. I'm not a bruh. I'm your mama. But yeah, I think that this is a bit of a reach. I would have been pissed. I really would have, honestly. Yeah, Randy, you're absolutely right. Chipotle had an opportunity to get it right. It didn't. I think it didn't because of the older employee. Yeah. I mean, it just, that's true. Eric says, yeah, but do you call anyone sis? You say sus, but that's not the same exact thing. That's suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Natalie says, I work in the employment law field and this manager needs further training. He did not handle that correctly. He didn't handle it from the beginning. If you have an employee that uses they, them pronouns, that should be the lead in for the person that's training them, right? Like, this is so-and-so, their pronouns are X, Y, and Z. One, then it's documented that employee that's training knows. Two, the new employee hears the manager doing it. And three, it's just like, let's work together on this. Again, I am not, I use she, her pronouns. I haven't been in an opportunity to experience what it must feel like to be dead named or to have the wrong pronouns be used. I'm not trying to say that I know what that feels like, but just from this one description of the interaction, it does scream to me kind of like give the person a chance to learn. So I don't know. I'm not all up on that. I don't think that was very, very fair. So yeah, I really do feel like it's a bit of a reach. All right. Doug. Yeah. I'm a Taco Bell girl, my friend. I like the fake beans, the ones that you have to have water to. Don't judge me. I love my Taco Bell. Chipotle is good. It's a little spendy. And BW says, I'm done with the pronoun crap. Sick of it from both sides, frankly. I'm done talking about it. How about this? I have no problem with pronouns. I have no problems, they, them, whatever. But you have to teach me, and then you have to give me the opportunity to learn. Because you can't live in this, and I will say, the delusion that people will just instinctually know what your pronouns are. That's ridiculous. But I am down to learn. I try my best to learn people's names, nicknames, sports team. We learn all sorts of things. And if we want to live in an inclusive environment, which I do, it's not that big of a freaking deal. It's not. If you're tired of pronouns, and I'm not saying about UBW, like you don't want to use them because you're like, there's only she and he and that's it. Okay, live in that world, but that's not the world that exists. Okay, just because you want it to be that way doesn't mean it's actually true. Wake up. Other types of people exist. It's not that big of a deal. You'll learn everybody else's names. Take a chill pill. It's really not that big of a deal. It's not really, really that hard. So don't lose sleep over it. I do want to say thank you to Wes. Thank you, Wes, for the $5 super sticker. I saw it back there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On that note, and before we get to our interview with Kalia, she is the CEO of Nap Bar, which I'm telling you, you guys are going to love her. All right. Now, again, for those of you that may have missed the announcement yesterday, we are focusing on sleep. I sent out, and it's in the show notes, that there was the February survey. It's still going on. It's still February, right? I'm trying to come up with different surveys to, what you guys are into, what you want to talk about. This is a community that we're forming. And one of the top things you guys mentioned was eating better and sleeping better, being more mindful in your life. And so I don't want to make this whole entire show every day about that. And so I've created a new community. I'm going to throw it up there. And you can find us on social, on Facebook and Instagram right now And then as I get more experts and interviews together, I hope to develop another channel that we can focus solely on this. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Get Some Z's. That's get normal spelling, some normal spelling. Z's is Z-E-E-Z. It's right there on your screen. And so you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. If you go there, and it's also in the show notes, there is a free, do I have it? I meant to print it out. Oh, yes, I do have it. Okay. So there is a free, absolutely free. And I have a blank one right here. Can you see it? Digital. It's a digital download, but you print it out. A sleep diary tracker. Okay. And I urge you guys, I'm doing it as well, to fill this out. It's each page is 1 week. You can print out as many as you want. I made it absolutely free. So just go to the show notes. You'll see the link right there. You click the link, you get it sent to your email. Easy, easy, easy peasy. And then I know that you want to be part of our community. I have a Substack. I'll be doing blog posts about this. So this is a totally different interest and community that we're creating. It's going to be a lot more personal for me. It's going to be a lot more personal between us. There are things I have in the works. So yes, get some Z's, sleep. So yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you to everyone who's already signed up. There's a lot of you. I'm loving this community. It's going to be great. So yesterday, if you missed it, I talked to Dr. Afolabi Brown. Go back and listen to it. It was she's a restful sleep MD, and talked about a bunch of the problems that people have with sleeping and things like that. But today I wanted to talk, and I never heard of something like this, right? Like I've heard of sleep pods, right? Because obviously Google made those popular. But this is in Houston, Texas. And Kalia Gioli, I say her name properly in the interview. Pardon me. I don't have it up in front of me right now. Kalia is the CEO of Nap Bar, and you're going to love her. For someone that, maybe because she naps so much, she has so much energy. But again, I urge you guys to listen to this, download the sleep tracker, join me on this journey. And I really love you guys. And so we may have time after the interview to kind of reconnect after it. It's not that long. And I want to know, this is live. So let me know what you're thinking about, what you think about the Nap Bar, how you're improving your sleep. If you filled out the sleep tracker yesterday in the comments, and we'll go back to that. So here is my interview. Let's go. So you guys know that I have been really focused on improving myself in a way that is realistic, but that actually makes meaningful change. And one of the ways is to get better sleep. I say this time and again. When I worked the morning drive at KGO and was waking up at 3:30 in the morning, there would be times I would be driving to work, that hour-long drive, and I would be asking myself, how long can I truly do this to myself? I mean, is this something that is sustainable? Now, of course, KGO is no more, but I still, wake up and work at KCBS in those early morning hours. It's tough. So how do we prioritize our sleep, especially in this 2024 hustle culture? Well, joining me today is Kalia O'Guillory, a sleep expert. She's a certified sleep coach. She's the CEO of COG Brands, and she's the founder and CEO of something called Nap Bar. And Kalia, thank you so much for joining the Nikki Maduro Show.
Hey, Nikki, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited because, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm very interested in sleep. Becoming a certified sleep coach sounds amazing. So just give us a brief kind of history about you and what made you want to focus on something like sleep.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible, right? Because this is like these stories. So I was similar to you. I was working in corporate America. I was the VP of strategy at a Fortune 100 bank. And I was at this intersection in my career where my contribution no longer met my satisfaction. So I knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't know what it was. But what I had to my advantage is that I've been an avid napper, Nikki, my entire life. Like I was a kid in kindergarten when the teacher said, go and get your red and blue mat. I got my mat. I was in my corner. I was out. She didn't have to fight with me. And I literally just continued napping through high school. I earned a Division I basketball scholarship. And that's really where I learned the art of a power nap. And when I graduated from college, went into corporate America, and I never stopped napping. And even in my high level positions, my colleagues would be like, man, how do you get all this energy? Like we're working 80+ hour weeks. And at that point I was traveling 75% of the time. And I was like, I don't know. And so one day, my best friend, we had carpooled into the city because we both had these side hustles, still working in corporate America. And I kept looking at my watch, and she's like, why are you looking at your watch? I'm like, well, it's now time, but you're in the car and I nap in my car, and this could get a little weird. And I don't know. So she was like, well, Google naps in Houston. I'm like, that's it. This is Houston. It's the 4th largest city in the country. Like, there's got to be a place for me to pop in, pop out, get me a nap. Nikki, no such a place. And I looked at her with like disbelief, and she was like, well, you should just create it. And I was like, I'm not going to leave my cushy corporate job and who's going to pay me to go nap? I'm probably low-key the only adult that's out here napping like this. That night, couldn't sleep, tossed and turned, went into the office, started doing this research, and found this article, study published by NASA. And it was basically a 26-minute nap they conducted on sleepy military pilots and astronauts. They found that in that 26 minutes, they improved their productivity by up to 34% and their alertness by 54%. So I was like, oh, okay, hold on a second. I might be up to something. Like, all the light bulbs went off. I was like, that's how I've been productive, because I'm taking these naps. When people are saying I'm lazy and there's other things I could be doing with my time, I'm like, actually, I was the smart one taking my nap. So fast forward to the very next day, now I'm amped. Now I can see the possibility of a potential nap bar. Went out to Facebook, did a couple of surveys. Hey guys, how many of you out here are taking naps on your lunch break? 99% of my friends were like, I am.
Wow.
Okay, well, if there was a place that you could go to, would you go? Absolutely. Okay, well, how much would you pay to go? I literally created this business plan based on surveys of what the masses wanted.
There you go.
Not what I wanted. Selfishly, I want nap bars so I could take naps too, but I really am on to helping solve this 411 billion. I'm saying billion with a B. 411 billion U.S. economic loss due to sleep deprivation. And all that means is that people are calling off from work. They're not going into the office. They're not logging in from home. They're taking mental health days, not because they're sick, or mental or sick days, not because they're sick, because they're mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, the great exhaustion is upon us. Like, we're in it right now. So that's really how Nap Bar all came about.
Now Nap Bar is in Houston, Texas. Have you expanded outside of Houston, Texas?
We are working on that. We are definitely working on that. We plan to be everywhere sleepy people be. So think airports, think hospitals, think sporting venues. You know, Mark Cuban had released a post not too long ago that his new facility in Dallas, he wants to have sleep pods. And I'm like, I could do that. We could make that happen, Mark. Holla at your girl. So yeah, we plan to be literally everywhere sleepy humans are. I think a collab with Starbucks will be really cool. We'll call it Nappuccinos. Hop in, get your coffee, then go take a nap, and then you'll have double the productivity and double the energy. So
yeah. How do you fight against what I was kind of mentioning at the beginning, this kind of hustle culture, and what you kind of experienced before the light bulb went off of, oh, she's lazy. She doesn't want to work. What are you doing? You're always napping, waking up, you know, only surviving on 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. How do you fight against that? Because it does seem, while I hear you about the economic loss and things like that, people just don't understand those facts and figures, and they just see you in this stereotypical lazy, sleepy way.
Absolutely. But, you know, we go back and look at what's happening across the pond. They literally those countries shut down. You know, I found myself in Italy and was looking for something to eat around 2:00, and everywhere I went, it was closed.
Time.
Why is it closed? I was like, no, we're on siesta. Like, we'll come back for dinner, you know? And that's really where I really understood this braggadocious culture of Team No Sleep that is modernized and is made cool here. And, you know, for me, it's once we reverse engineer our approach with rest and sleep and realize that those two things are totally separate, because you can sleep, but you're not rested. You could be rested and you don't sleep. I believe the way that we reverse engineer our relationship and approach with rest is that we have to make a conscious effort to do so, because oftentimes we approach it as rest and sleep are the same thing. You could be rested, but not get enough sleep, or you can get enough sleep and not be rested. Two totally separate things. And also we treat rest and sleep as a luxury. Like, oh, I don't get to do that. No, you get to do it. You have to do it, because if I can get nerdy for a second, we take baths every day. We shower every day. Well, that's the hope, but whenever you don't get the required sleep that your body needs, you are not allowing your brain to take a bath to get fresh. Because what happens when we sleep is that nerve damage is repaired, memories of the day are downloaded, toxins are washed out of our body. Like, when you think about all the things that has to happen for us to be able to function, whenever we don't allow our bodies to get that adequate rest, that's when we start to have brain fog. That's when we're working out hard. Like, oh man, like we're all about, let's get rid of these COVID-10, but we're so stressed out and we haven't had adequate rest that we're eating clean and we're training dirty, but we're not seeing the scale movers because we haven't given our bodies a proper chance to rest.
Yeah. And obviously, a lot is talked about mental health, the mental health crisis in this country, and how, whether it's young kids or adults, talk a little bit about how sleep impacts our mental health.
Oh my gosh, sleep is everything, because when you think about it, has already been proven to reduce depression, anxiety. I mean, when you think about the sleep disorders that are out there, some of them are basically ignited and activated because of lack of sleep. So oftentimes I've seen people who are suffering from depression because they have insomnia and didn't know that those two are aligned. So for those who are listening, insomnia, basically you'll have to go and consult with your doctor. I'm here to inform and educate, but if you're waking up consistently, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, between 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, chances are those are symptoms and signs of insomnia. And, stress, high cortisol levels in your body produces stress. Stress doesn't allow you to rest. I mean, there's so many things that happen. I personally am perimenopausal, and it took me a while. It took me all of last year. You raise your hand, man, listen, almost took me out. Like, my sleep was trash. And I'm like, yo, I know what to do. Like, what's happening here? Mm-hmm. But even in my wisdom of being a sleep coach and having a certificate that I've done the training for this, I still was like, well, what is happening here? Because everything I know to do is not working. Well, you can't fight against hormones. Like my HIIT workouts and running 5K Fridays, that just wasn't what my body needed in this new realm of phase that I'm in. Long walks is what works for me now.
Exactly.
I don't have hot flashes anymore. I got my hormones are balanced now, and that also has helped with my sleep. And I think that until we all as a society can really truly communicate about really what's going on with us, because I hadn't heard anyone talk about being perimenopausal and how that messes with your sleep, and you're gonna have this hormone belly, and you ate kale yesterday, but today you're bloated. No one told me that. But all those things are tied to our sleep and how we approach it, and giving ourselves permission, because that's really what it boils down to. Like, can we give ourselves permission to say no to the things that are not allowing us to get adequate restorative rest?
All right, you're a sleep coach. I'll put your coach hat on. Yes. I'm somebody that has a very hard time sleeping. Everything that you've talked about, whether it's hormones, my mind has a very hard time shutting off. I could fall asleep pretty okay, but because I have a weird schedule, I do a live show on YouTube most mornings, but then some mornings I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go work in San Francisco. So if I come to you and I go, look, I'm a light sleep, I have a busy mind, and sometimes my sleep, I go to bed at different times. Am I just screwed? Because all I keep hearing is go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, I'll get rid of distractions. My life doesn't. I have 2 also tween and teenagers at home.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? So help me.
I got you. So 2 things that you can do, right? And I always tell people, you didn't get this way by happenstance. Some of this is also DNA.
Yeah.
So we can't fight against that. But what can we control? We can control the things that we can control. So first step is I would tell people I'll tell you, Nikki, like, revisit your bedtime rituals, right? So some things that some people do is that they're scrolling at night in the bed right before they're trying to go to bed. You might be falling asleep, but that blue light that's emitting through their phone is telling your brain you should be up. So that might be the reason why you're not staying asleep.
Yeah.
The 10-3-2-1-0 rule is like it's like my holy grail. So the 10 is 10 hours before bed. You're not taking any more caffeine. 3 hours before bed, no more food or alcohol. 2 hours before bed, no more work. I always get like, I wait for the call because I feel like people are like, what? Yeah, no more work. Like, okay, we can set the boundaries so that we could create these lanes for us. 1 hour before bed, no more screen time. And that's usually when people like, wait, KG, like you've lost it. And then the 0 times is that the number of times that you're going to hit the snooze button.
Oh, I'm a definite person on that. No snooze. I want every minute I can get.
No snooze. So like whenever that alarm goes off, you got to pop up and go. Because your first, typically studies have shown, science isn't always 100, right? Because it doesn't factor in everything. But studies have shown that whenever you wake up, when your alarm goes off and you don't hit the snooze button, those first 2 hours of the day, you were super productive. So if you keep hitting the snooze button, you're delaying your productivity.
That's a good point.
I mean, it makes sense. And then the second thing I would tell you is something that has worked for me. I only share things that I have used, not me regurgitating what I read in a book. This is me. I have used this and I live and die by it. It's segmented sleep. Have you heard of it?
No.
So segmented sleep, when I first started Nap Bar, I was still working in corporate America and I was still traveling 75% of the time. I was still working those 80 plus hours a week. And so the nights and weekends was my only time to work on Nap Bar. So my sleep schedule was severely interrupted. What I did is that I ran across this research on segmented sleep. All it means is that and they did this back in the day, like in the caveman days, this is how they slept. Let's say you go to bed at 10, you wake up at 2, you just naturally wake up. Instead of trying to will yourself back to sleep and staying in the bed and tossing and turning and then watching the clock like, I only have 2 more hours left. I only have 3 more. I only have 30 more minutes left and I got to get up. And then you're frustrated because now your cortisol level is high because you're stressed out about watching it. You're like checking the time and counting down how much more sleep you have. Stop that. Just get up. Yeah. So I get up. I'll work for about an hour or 2. And then I go back to bed and then I wake up refreshed.
I feel like that's so, to me, that blows my mind because I can't imagine getting up at 2, getting behind. Well, do you work behind a computer though? That goes against, so it doesn't, the blue light, I guess, doesn't impact your sleep then.
It doesn't impact my sleep. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't believe any one thing is cookie cutter for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I think that some people are just trained differently and then you got that DNA in you as well. So for me, that what has worked for me and some of my also other entrepreneurs and people who have different schedules, especially for people who are shift workers, just when you're up, you're up. Don't fight it. You're fine. And then I noticed like about an hour into me working out, because another piece of what helps, and you mentioned this too, this might help you. I want you to try it and report back and tell me what happens. Okay. You're doing a brain dump. So sometimes you're up because you got these ideas and you haven't turned your brain off fully. Yeah. But when you wake up and you go and get to work and you're thinking about all the things you already did, and then you release all that in your brain, you just did a brain dump. So now it's like, okay, I don't have nothing else to think about. Off the bed I go. Yeah. So 8 hours is my jam. So, 10 to 2, that's my first 4 hours. And then I'll work for an hour and then I'm back in bed. And then this is like, that's not my normal sleep pattern, but I know when I'm super stressed and I can't turn my brain off, that is definitely my go-to.
Okay, so now I want to move to the Nap Bar. Walk me through what that experience is. I mean, this is fascinating to me that you created a place that people go. Now, we're in the Bay Area. We have Google, and so it's infamous. Like, they have the pods and things like that. But us average folk that don't work at Google have no comprehension of what that means. So walk us through if I walk through the door of Nap Bar, what do I see?
First, you're going to see a comfort concierge who is going to cater to your every need. So immediately when you come in, we're going to confiscate your phone, anything that buzzes, beeps, because this time is for you. We're going to lock it up. We're going to give it to you. This was at the Galleria Mall when right before the pandemic. This was our location, and we did this. And we're going to give you a pill. We're going to give you a pre-nap juice shot. It's infused with ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a root that helps you naturally just relax and chill out. So you can get your pre-nap juice shot. And if you opted for a CBD infused massage, you go into the massage area, get your CBD infused massage. And then when you're about ready, because you're going to be like super relaxed at this point, you're going to go into your mood lit room. We'll ask you on your profile, are you struggling with anything right now? Depression, anything of that nature? Do you have body aches? Because scientifically speaking, research has shown that if you're suffering from depression, blue lighting helps. If you have inflammation in your body, green light helps. So if you tell us, hey, I've got some depression, I'm battling depression right now, we'll make sure that your suite is outfitted with our blue light.
Nice.
Next is we have our white label pillow mist. We'll spray your pillow with some really good lavender scents to bring out the notes of just relaxation. And then you're off to bed. You're off to a nap. If you decide that you want to rent or purchase some exclusive nap bar bamboo pajamas, you can. If you want a blackout eye mask, you can. If you're worried about your hair getting messed up, we have silk pillowcases. We have bonnets, satin bonnets. I mean, we have thought about everything.
Right.
And so then when your time is up, we also give you these exclusive soundscapes, which are rhythmic beats that naturally engage the frontal lobe of your brain. And it naturally, in short bites and doses, releases melatonin in your body. Not enough to knock you out, but just enough to, again, we just layering on the relaxation for you. And then we'll come in, wake you up, and then you're off for the rest of the day. And what's really the differentiator with Nap Bar is that you're coming into a health conscious space. So what I say that is that inside the Galleria Mall, we had, and in our beta tests here in Houston and Rice Village, we had corkscrew floors. The paint that we use is free of it's zero VOC. There's no chemicals in the paint. The mattress that you sleep on is an organic mattress. There's no chemicals or toxins in the mattress or the bedding, the linen, the pillows, the pillowcases. I mean, it's really truly a holistic approach to wellness.
That's all. I mean, I want one out here. ASAP, please. Okay. So, but there's not a nap bar in the Bay Area yet. Hopefully you expand here yet. But so if I was going to redo my room, like kind of describe your bedroom or the ideal bedroom for people that really want to maybe create a mini nap bar at home.
Mini nap bar. Definitely, if you are hyperallergenic, you got to start with live green plants. Those are my go-to. Snake plants, aloe plants. Those are ivies. Put those on your nightstand. It cleans the air in your room and your space so that you can get fresh air, especially if you're allergic or you have allergies. Springtime is coming. This is probably the perfect time to do that. Make sure that your room is dark. When you're trying to sleep, you don't want any light coming in. So that means you getting blackout curtains. And a lot of people say, well, this is going to be expensive. Well, if you skip the latte every other day, you'll probably have a nice little fun for your sanctuary in your room. Other thing is making sure that the temperature is cold. A lot of people say, oh, well, what's too cold? Well, studies have shown between 69 degrees. I'm at 68. That's my compromise with the love of my life in our house. So, sometimes you got to compromise. But whenever she's not home, it's on 65. So, it just depends. But making sure that you're cold. Weighted blanket is always going to be a good idea. You pull that thing on and just feels like you're getting a really cozy hug all throughout the night or whenever you're taking your nap. Also, organic mattresses are my thing, just because when we lay on mattresses that are made with chemicals and toxins, we don't realize that even when we have our PJs on, when we lay down, they're still going through our pores. They're still through our pores into our body. So, being really cognizant of what we have going on in our environment and in our space. I like to diffuse. So for me, if I'm feeling a little down, I'll make sure I got a little orange or a peppermint that will lift me up a little bit. And that's really what it is. And then we also, Nap Bar curated this, we call it Meta Snooze. It's an escape into the metaverse through virtual reality. Ooh. Put that on and just relax, because you get transported all over the world. So you could be sitting in your office, you could be sitting in your bedroom, you could be sitting anywhere. and you're immediately transported to a completely different space or location in the world with those soundscapes that I mentioned that engage the frontal lobe of your brain. We have words of affirmation that you can hear. I mean, it's just a really good escape just to unplug and disconnect from the rest of the world.
I love that. I love it. I love it. All right. One more question, because I know I have to let you go. The business of sleep. Most people will probably not even consider it, but have you found that there is this kind of growing market of people who really want to focus on something that I think a lot of people just dismiss, which of course is that slumber that they should be getting every night?
It has been wild, right? Like, unfortunately, we went through the pandemic, but I think the pandemic taught us that it's okay to give yourself a pause. It's okay to slow down, and it's okay to make wellness a priority. You know, oftentimes I think people see self-care as, oh, I went and got my hair done, I got my nails done. Yeah, that's self-maintenance. That's not really self-care. Self-care is being still in the room and being quiet. Self-care is taking a nap. Self-care is maybe unplugging from phones, your Apple Watch, anything that buzzes and dings for 10 minutes every day, and it's set on your calendar and it's gonna happen, and you're committing to doing it so that you could just breathe. Yeah. I think that the world that we're in now, I mentioned this earlier with the great exhaustion, is a legit thing. We are tired. Yeah. And the reason why we're tired is because everything that happened to us during the pandemic is starting to catch up to us. We're dealing with inflation now. We're dealing with uncertainty of an election year. I mean, there's so much for 2024 that's happening. No wonder we're all exhausted. So I think that's even more reason why we need to give ourselves permission to rest, to get quality sleep at night, even for our folks who are like entrepreneurs and, I got to get it now. It is a promise. If it's meant for you, it'll be there. And, we got to protect our own energy. And sometimes protecting your energy is making sure that you're recharged. Because I always tell folks I got to make sure that my input outweighs my output, because if it's the other way around, I won't have anything to give.
Oh, I love it. Input needs to outweigh the output. I love it. Kalia Guillory, look up Nap Bar. I know it's in Houston, Texas, and we have a lot of Bay Area viewers, but we also have viewers all across the country and the world, in all honesty. Nap Bar, if it is anywhere close to the Bay Area, Kalia, you're going to have to let me know. I mean,
you will be the first. I was like, Nikki, we need to tell all your peeps we're coming to the Bay. Now, listen, we also do pop-ups. So we can make it happen. We do corporate pop-ups. We travel all over. We went to St. Martin for a pop-up. Ooh. So, I mean, we can bring that bar to you, so we can make this happen.
Well, I want the invitation to have you back on. I'd love to get you back on. Your expertise is amazing. Kalia, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on the Nikki Maduro Show.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
All right, so there she is. Again, Kalia Guillory. You can find her in Nap Bar now. I put it in the comments, and I hear what you guys are saying. It does seem like a lot. So let me just go over it really quickly, Lori and others that were mentioning it. It's like one of those packages. Anyone ever done the float thing? I'm going to try that soon, where you float in a thing of salt water or what have you. That's supposed to be extremely relaxing as well. So basically, if you pay by the snooze, it's $25 for a 20-minute snooze. It goes up to $69 for a 60-minute snooze, and you can only do it for 4 hours. Cheaper if you buy it by the package. Again, this is in Houston, and the reason I brought her on wasn't necessarily to say there needs to be nap bars everywhere. It's more, we need to start making that a priority for us. The business of sleep, it should be a business, because we don't prioritize our sleep. And the comments regarding the cost, I hear you, mama 3 boys, who has time or money to do these things. And I hear you, Lori, that, people can't get organic sheets. They can't get necessarily the blackout curtains for cheap. But what can you do, right? You could turn your phone off, right? You can disconnect. You can turn the TV off before bed. I understand some people need to work until the very moment before they go to bed, and I'm raising my hand. Another thing that you could do, and that's why I've included it on the link, I have it right here. Print this out. It's free. I made it absolutely free. It's a sleep tracker. Do a little bit of the work. That's all I'm saying. Do a little bit. Understand where you may be going wrong in improving your sleep, and then let me know how it's going. The sleep tracker that you can find the link, it's on your screen. It's in the show notes. You'll see it. It's pretty much right there. You can also join our Instagram and Facebook group at Get Some Z's, right? Free. All those things are free. And it's so we can learn from each other and learn. It's similar to when you're trying to lose weight and they tell you to keep a food diary. Keep a sleep diary. See what things you can improve and see how it can work. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this big cost prohibitive thing to improve our sleep. I turn my phone off. It is literally on sleep. Sorry, I am not 100% on all of the time. So you guys follow me on Get Some Z's on Instagram and Facebook. Obviously follow my The Nikki Maduro Show platform as well on this show. We'll be doing it and I will keep you guys updated. Once you download the sleep tracker, you'll be part of the community. So you'll know the rest. I have a Substack blog that I'm also putting, more information on. So follow that as well. And and you can get cheap blackout curtains, Lori. I was just at TJ Maxx and I just bought some curtains for my room that were not expensive at all. Not expensive at all. So thank you guys for following me there. Again, click the thumbs up button to show your support for the show. A thank you to Spencer with the $5 donation. Wes also came in with a $5 donation. And you guys can donate even if you're watching on replay as well. And please support this show. I want to continue doing this. I want to continue doing a live 2-hour show on YouTube. And so please sign up to be a Madorable. Go to thenikkimadoroshow.com, thenikkimadoroshow.com. Join our Patreon. And if you can afford a little bit more on your subscription, because there's no tiers right now, please do it. We also take PayPal as well. Go to paypal.com and the email is thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. And we love you guys so very much. All right. Kim will be back tomorrow. I will be here as well. Have a fabulous day. Stay here for the Mark Thompson Show. And I believe the After Party Live with John Daly is still on as well. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.